Skellinger, and it is truly an honor and a privilege, and especially on a night like this, I almost have to pinch myself to say that I'm the principal of Radnor High School. As we look around, you know, Radnor and tradition are synonymous, and we look to our current student athletes over here, all the way through every period of life, and all Radnor. We're all here to celebrate what it's all about to be from Radnor, to be a part of Radnor. We're honoring a teacher, most importantly, and secondly, a coach, Mr. Ellis Dwyer. This evening was brought about mostly through the efforts of the gentleman I'm about to introduce because of his love for Mr. Dwyer and his love for Radnor. It is my honor and privilege to introduce Mr. Ralph Gregg.
I remember Mr. Dwyer on the playground and making me go out for football at 105 pounds. Kirk Moser over here smiling because he's one of the people who used to run over me. I made it. It all started, I was driving through the township and I went up to South Devon, West Wayne Avenue, and there was an Odoriccio Park. And I was wondering if, you know, where is there anything named for Mr. Dwyer? Because, hey, everybody knew Mr. Dwyer. And I just knew everybody in the township still knew Mr. Dwyer. So I went up to see Roger Wilkins. Roger's sitting over here. And I said to Roger, where is the place named for Mr. Dwyer? And he said, there isn't any. And I said, why not? He said, because they probably forgot him. The new people around here don't know anything about his history, so there's not going to be any push to do this. So Roger and I set out to educate. We drove down, it was summertime, we drove down to the high school, this building, and well, Roger called the AD, and we went down and we talked to him, and he said, what do you want to name for it? I said, you could name the school district for it as far as I'm concerned. He wasn't just a good man, he was a great man. I'd like the daughters, Mr. Dwyer's daughters are here, Mary, Ellis, Dwyer, Cups. We managed to get a plaque, which will
wonderful.
be on the gymnasium, officially making it the Ellis Charles Dwyer Gymnasium.
This gymnasium opened in 1957, and I played in that first game at this gymnasium, and we lost. Mr. Dwyer wasn't one for scheduling easy opponents for us, and we played Haverford High School, which previously won the state championship. But we didn't do too bad after that. We lost 2 more games that year at home. The following year we didn't lose any, and the following year we didn't lose any on our home court. So we were pretty proud playing on this court and playing for Mr. Dwyer. We truly, with some of the people that are here, if you've seen the movie Hoosiers, that's who we were. Disciplined. The more I thought about it, it was Coach Dwyer just didn't want turnovers, where we would come down and not get a shot. If we threw the ball away, usually I ended up becoming friends with Mr. Dwyer on the bench. We would go from there. Oh, Ralph, I didn't have any input on the plaque here, but I was hoping you could put it by the water fountain, because Mr. Dwyer never let us get water. So also, you know, with the coaches today, they have these big chalkboards and they have magnetic things. Well, this was Coach's magnetic chalkboard that he carried all the time. And of course, we couldn't play a game without having an orange. That was his MO. We'd all go in at halftime and eat our orange and so forth. The only thing with Mr. Dwyer really devoted his life to the students of Radnor. And all summer, he would open the playground in Rosemont, and we'd run basketball leagues there. And thinking about that on the way up here, I said, thank God we didn't have lights on that court, we'd still be practicing. On Saturdays, the Wayne Elementary was opened up to the public. And that's really the bond that brought all of Radnor together. Past alumni and everybody, they knew where to go on Saturday to meet your friends and good game of basketball. And we played there from 10 till 2. And then he would just make it available for us to practice for the next 2 hours. That was really nice of him to fill up our Saturdays. But the last thing I want to say is, hell's bells, son.
As a proud graduate of Radnor, way back in 1964, I did not have the privilege of having Mr. Dwyer as a teacher, but I did have the opportunity when I was much younger with my 3 brothers, Jack, Jerry, and Jim Sullivan, and my other brother, Malin Hampshire, passed in 1963. To participate in the activities at the Rosemont School. And they were our wonder years. And, you know, very seldom do I remember Mr. Dwyer ever being still. He was like a man in motion. He was always moving, whether it be basketball, baseball, checkers, you know, he was always moving. And he was so good to us. He was like the father of the playground, and we were the part of the family, and we had rules and we had to abide by them, didn't we? Yes, we did. You know, and we did, and we respected him so much. And he gave us a sense of competition and good sportsmanship, and we just had fun. I guess, too, through his example, he paved the way for us to become strong young men and women in this world. And he gave us opportunities through sports in our young lives to feel our self-worth and to appreciate our achievements. I think my brother Jack says it all. He said, and he was the oldest of my brothers, he said, I was always the littlest guy on the field and couldn't hit as far as the other players. But I was pretty well coordinated and fast. What he remembers the most about Mr. Dwyer was that he could zero in on the kid that didn't have the advantage and made them feel bigger. He always made you feel bigger. And he had that special knack of evaluating kids and made sure they knew that they had contributed. And that was the heart of Mr. Dwyer. We all have our stories and our remembrances of Mr. Dwyer, and they will remain forever in our hearts, of a man who wanted us all to achieve to some level of greatness. And he gave us the stepping stones through his example, whether being a teacher and a coach at Radnor or a supervisor at the Rosemont Elementary School. He gave us a chance to soar. Thank you, Ralph and Mr. Dwyer, for bringing us all together tonight.
I'm speaking to you as a playground kid. I was one of the kids that was there from sun up to sundown. The kids came from Callahan Avenue to Rockingham Road to Garrett Avenue to Larry's Lane, and every time I think of those streets, it just brings back a flood of memories. We were the kids that made lanyards, and we colored for hours, and we played softball and checkers and horseshoes, and we spent more hours on the swings and the jungle gyms, and we just acted goofy on the tennis courts because we knew that made Mr. Dwyer crazy. You didn't like touching that tennis court unless you knew what you were doing. We were the Falcones and the Grays, and we were the Kellys and the DeFelices, the Holmeses and the Enklers and the Patricks and the Petros, and we were just a big melting pot. We were from public school, private school, Catholic school, and then we even had a couple kids who were from private school, but not too many of them. So to all of us, Mr. Dwyer was a larger-than-life character, and he came into our lives every year when school was over, and then he disappeared after Labor Day. And he was the most kindly of all, kindly gentleman to all of the children, all of us. And he provided the better part of our summer with the programs that he ran at the school. Now, for those of us who grew up with him, and we would know that the school, automatically we would know that that was the Radnor Elementary School. Because back then, neighborhoods were defined by the places and the things that you could reach by foot. So the school was where all of us would spend from sun up until sundown, except when we had to go home to eat. And Mr. Dwyer was there from when we arrived to when we left. And in the hours in between, he provided supervision, instruction, tender loving care, and he was a mentor long before the word mentoring was even existed. He had, like Pat said, he has a special way of relating to all of us regardless of our age or our background. He was stern when he needed to be, but he was also kind, and that was apparent to all of the kids that grew up under his care. And when I think of all that he did for us, I realized that he truly was one of a kind, and he was almost like a surrogate parent to us, because we really did spend the whole summer under his watchful eye. He was a constant in our summers, and there's nothing I could say that anecdotally captures all my memories of him. But anybody who wants to know stories, and talk to my brother Michael, because he's got such an amazing recall of our childhood over there at the playground that he could talk to you for hours. For the longest time, I didn't know whether Mr. Dwyer had a family. I really did, and I certainly felt like he was part of my family, so I didn't care. He was my family. But right now, I'd like to thank the Dwyer family for sharing him with us for so many years, every summer. He made such a difference in all our lives. And I know that in my youthful exuberance, I didn't say thank you to him enough. So now I say, thank you, Mr. Dwyer, on behalf of all the kids that grew up on the playground, who have only the warmest and fondest memories of the summers that we spent with you. Thank you.
Now I'm going to introduce the daughters. Mary Ellis Cups Dwyer, who graduated in 1963, who got caught in the smoking area by her father. Mary Ellis, why don't you go up and say a few words?
Ralph always had to tell everything he knew. Anyway, I was sunning my legs out there. I'd like to thank everybody that came here today. I know we all have very busy lives and very busy schedules, and this means an awful lot to our family. First of all, Dad lived to age 94, and if you look at the booklet that Ralph has up here, you'll see him at his birthday party with his Radnor Raider shirt on. And he was 100% for Radnor High School all the way. Now, I do have a grievance with Radnor High School, and I'm looking at the principal because I'm an associate. Why on earth was I in his homeroom for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade? That's my grievance. Put it down. Dad particularly enjoyed his boys, that's what he called them, his basketball team guys, and his football team guys, and his golf team guys, his boys. He loved it when any of you would come over to visit with him. He had a fantastic memory. I wish I did. But he could tell you what year so-and-so graduated, how well they did on that basketball team. I said to him, I said, Dad, do you remember the year that we went up to Nanticoke, we played them? He says, oh yeah, John Simpson was on the team, and Buddy Holly was on the team, and Ben Lynn was on the team. See, I don't have the memory he had, but you know, he could tell you who was on the team, how they played, how they scored. Didn't matter what year. And he just loved his boys. Of course, he was blessed with 3 girls. He named me after himself. And I wondered about that. But on behalf of our family, we would like to thank the school board and everybody that was involved in making this happen. And a special, special thanks to you. Thank you very much.
Jerry, can you say something? Will you tell us, give us a few words?
I'm so appreciative to see so many people here and to know how well Dad was thought of. I greatly appreciate all the comments on the playground, because I was a playground kid too. And one thing that wasn't mentioned about the playground was the trips to see the Phillies and the A's. Of course, being a kid like I was more interested in the Cracker Jacks and the hot dogs. But I enjoyed going to see the games, and all the kids enjoyed it too. Mostly, I'd like to, of course, thank Ralph particularly and everybody else that had anything to do with getting this honor for my dad. And I've lived away from this area for many, many years, and I remember coming home on vacation one time and Dad bringing me up to this very gym to show me the gym and the pool. And he said, Mom and I swim there every once in a while. And I thought, yeah, it's really nice. And he never would have dreamed that it would one day be named after him. And I know that he would have been very appreciative but humble at this very honor. He was a man of few words, but he was very, very tender-hearted. And he cared about all the kids that he coached or taught. And I hope that some of that is rubbed off on my sister and I. There again, I'm not much of a speaker, but I do appreciate everybody being here, and particularly those that were involved in bringing this to fruition. Thank you so much.
Before we end, I'd like to introduce Mr. Dwyer's grandchildren, who are hiding in the back. See, we got Matthew. Matthew, how about standing up? Way to go, guys! We have James. Gary's husband, Ben. All right.
I just want to say, I did not have the good fortune to know Mr. Dwyer, but just to be an observer to come to this is the most genuine, heartfelt, wonderful ceremony that I think I've ever been to. This is really fantastic. He must have been a tremendous man. You're very
Now, we have for you, Ralph, a little gift, and we want you to have it from the alumni.
Is this the ball? for the ladies. Now, we have over here Victor Roggio, who is a silversmith. And Victor and his wife Sue made up gifts just for you ladies.
Oh, Radnor High, dear Radnor High, when student days are past, the memory dear of bygone year will cherish